Hello everybody, this is Dr. Bob DiMaria with another episode of Ask Dr. Bob. We have questions from all over the world, so I pray that we answered yours. The number one here is, I'm going to be 60 in December, had a enlarged prostate, and basically wanted to know what needs to be done. This is what I learned about prostates, and men of course, is that there's too much estrogen probably in your body. You want to focus on clearing up your liver. That's really significant because your liver is what processes the estrogen out. You want to avoid walking on grass that might have estrogen on it because they spray herbicides and pesticides on that. We use a product called MCS2. MCS2 helps support liver health. I also take a product called Iodozyme every day because there are iodine receptors in the prostate which impacts prostate health. We've seen PSA lower because of that. We use a product, a tool called the Zyto machine. And the Zyto machine is a tool that we can also check to see if you have too much estrogen and not enough testosterone. You may consider coming to visit us in Cleveland, Ohio, or over in Naples, Florida, so we could do that assessment to you. Dr. Bob, this individual lives in the UK. A lot of emotional overtones here. It was a really long question. It was a young lady that actually feels guilty eating food, talking about just what she does day to day. This is what I find out with most people that have a lot of emotional distress. They tend to need minerals. We actually use a trace mineral that's a vegetable source called L-lyzyme forte. We've had great success with that. Oftentimes we find individuals with a lot of emotional distress and need B vitamins. In your email to us, you weren't telling me about you eating mostly raw food. I want you to know I promote a variety of ways to prepare food. You could steam it, saute it, raw, grilled, baked. I would not eat the food the same way all the time. Just look into doing some minerals. You may consider having a hair analysis done. Please contact us. This individual lived in Maine, talked about the folklore of Maine, and when they were having a flu many years ago, the Spanish flu, that the lumberjacks used to eat onions. But here's what goes on with onions. Onions are sulfur. Sulfur promotes optimal liver function. Your liver is a very significant organ for clearing unwanted and unfriendly organisms in your body. I actually eat some type of onion every day. We had an individual, this is a very interesting question, was quite detailed about dopamine, their brain, how can they evaluate it. We use a test in our practice called the organics urine test. It evaluates the metabolites in your urine. And part of it is that we can look at your serotonin level, which is directly involved in this whole puzzle. And we can find out exactly and drill down to what's going on. It's kind of interesting because a part of the building blocks for serotonin is tryptophan, or is tyrosine, which eventually comes on with this whole cascade. And if you're low in tyrosine, you actually can get altered skin pigment. It's very fascinating. It's called the urine organics test. Dr. Bob, any recommendation for acid reflux? First, watch your food combining. For example, if you're a meat eater, you don't want to eat meat and potatoes because meat is acid, potatoes are alkaline. You want to eat meat with green beans. You want to watch how you combine your foods. There's a great book called Fit for Life by the Diamonds many years ago that I have read several times. You don't ever end a meal with fruit. Dr. Bob, how can I avoid tonsil stones? Well, we actually have something called cytozyme parotid that we help the glands in the throat. Oftentimes it's a calcium phosphorus imbalance with too much calcium in regard to phosphorus. I'd like to direct you to the book Dr. Bob's Guide to Prevent Surgery. I have a chapter in there on cataracts. You can say, well, Dr. Bob, I asked you about tonsil stones. Yeah, I know, but it's physiology where you have an excessive amount of calcium in your body and not enough phosphorus. We had an individual, great questions, aren't these, that had an abscess in their gum. They want to do types of surgery to them. They're thinking about doing a root canal. and just major issues. So my suggestion to all of you who have chronic dental problems and they want to do a procedure, there's a great book called It's All in Your Head by Hal Huggins. Read the book. You also are concerned about receding gums, and we use a product called Osteo B2, which helps the whole oral structure of your mouth. And we use something, and I personally take Agricept L, 10 drops every day. I've been doing it since 1996, and that's just a natural product to help normalize the flora inside of your mouth. Dr. Bob, is bouncing on the ball more effective than the trampoline? I bounce on the ball 12 to 15 minutes every day, and the reason that I encourage that for all of you watching me everywhere in the world, unless you have a major disc problem in your low back where it's decreasing in size because you're not having aggravation to your knees or your hips. Then somebody else, in regard to tonsils, Dr. Bob, I had tonsils out when I was 5 years old. Basically, so did I, way back in the early 1960s, where so many of you weren't even born yet. You wanted to know if your tonsils will grow back. Here's my answer to you. If you have a skilled surgeon and that literally took the whole tonsil tissue out, more than likely, tonsils growing back will not. But if that surgeon left a portion of that tonsil tissue there, it seems logical to me that that tonsil could respond and proliferate or grow depending on the demand. I also, in Dr. Bob's Guide to Prevent Surgery, have a chapter just on tonsils. Dr. Bob, what about receding gums? I mentioned a product earlier called Osteo B2, and I also would consider Agricept L, which we'll have a link that you can get from our website. Agricept L is a citric seed extract. Floss. Make sure you're flossing on a regular basis. Get rid of that unwanted plaque. Dr. Bob, anytime that I eat eggs, I get left side abdominal pain. Well, first, I don't know really what's causing it. You probably have, obviously, a sensitivity to eggs. Eggs are sulfur, so it's very possible that you could be putting a challenge to maybe any unfriendly organisms in your body because they don't like sulfur. How many drops of iodine should a 10-year-old child have? You know, it's hard to say because I don't know how big the child is. There's a lot of controversy if you should or you shouldn't be using iodine. You may consider the urine iodine loading test. Last question from Nigeria. We love people from all over the world. I live in Nigeria. I'm a 38-year-old female, not married, no kids. But apparently you have a fibroid issue. You want to know what foods to take or to avoid for fibroids. You want to eliminate sugar and fruit because that places a demand on your liver. You know, you could be watching us from anywhere in the world and you want answers for your health problems and you just don't know where to go. Well, I want you to know that people do visit us from around the world. I Skype with people, do Facebook live conversation, or FaceTime through the iApparatus. So you might want to come and visit us. We're here to make a difference because if you don't need to have a surgery, we'd like to be the ones that will help you coach through this. I'm Dr. Bob DeMaria.